...2019, I said goodnight and I love you to my daughter, Monique Bell, for the last time.
Monique's oldest daughter, Legend, said to me a couple weeks ago, she said that she wants to die. And I said, no, baby, why would you say that? And she said, because I want to see my mommy. And she said, you can bring me flowers. And I knew she was referring to the times that we bring Monique flowers to her grave.
New Year's Eve 2019 was supposed to be a night of celebration, of fresh beginnings, of hope for the year ahead. But for 28-year-old real estate agent Monique Bao, it would become the night she came face to face with what her mother would later describe as pure evil. And the most disturbing part? Monique wasn't even the intended target. She was simply caught in the crosshairs of a revenge plot so twisted, so calculated, that it would involve fake identities, burner phones, and a staged real estate showing designed to lure an innocent woman into a trap. This is the tragic story of Monique Bao. Monique was a mother of 2 young daughters, a woman with what those who knew her described as a giant heart and an electric smile.
It's not fair to not have her here with us. She was taken from us. She was stolen. She just had this confidence and glow about her that you just wanted. Like, it was so infectious. Like, you just wanted to have whatever dose of Monique. Like, what did you have, Monique? We want that.
She was building a career in real estate, working hard to provide for her children, showing up every single day to create a better life for her family. She was someone's daughter, someone's mother, someone's light in this world.
My baby was so precious to me, to all of us.
And on that fateful New Year's Eve, Monique received what appeared to be a routine call. A potential client was interested in viewing a property. For a real estate agent, these calls are the lifeblood of the business. Every showing is an opportunity. Every interested buyer a potential commission that could help put food on the table, clothes on her daughter's backs, a roof over their heads. There was absolutely no reason for Monique to suspect anything unusual about this particular appointment. No red flags, no warning signs, nothing to indicate that the person on the other end of that phone call was using a burner phone and an alias for one tragic purpose: to set up a fake house showing that would ultimately cost Monique her life. The woman who made that call was Elsa Segura. And here's where this story takes an even more disturbing turn. Elsa Segura wasn't just some random criminal. She was a probation officer, someone who had sworn an oath to uphold the law, someone who worked within the justice system, someone who had survived the 35W bridge collapse in her youth and had seemingly turned her life into something meaningful, something that contributed to society. But on New Year's Eve 2019, Elsa Segura would betray every principle she claimed to stand for. And Monique, trusting and professional as ever, showed up to that house showing in Maple Grove completely unaware that she was walking into an ambush. What happened next would be the stuff of nightmares. Waiting at that fake house showing were Cedric Berry and Barry Davis, 2 men who had absolutely no interest in buying a home. Their only interest was in using Monique as bait to get to her boyfriend, the father of her children.
That's a fact, nigga, that's a fact. Everything we riding, matte black on black, yeah. Watch the money stack, hundreds back to back.
You see, prosecutors revealed that Monique's boyfriend had a beef with a drug dealer. The alleged mastermind behind this entire plot was a man named Lyndon Wiggins, who was feuding with Monique's boyfriend over what appeared to be disputes connected to the music industry. Barry and Davis, along with some associates, staged this entire phony house showing specifically so they could kidnap Monique. And when Monique arrived at that property, she was grabbed, forcibly taken, and thrown into the back of a U-Haul truck. But their plan was specific. They weren't just kidnapping Monique for ransom. They weren't holding her for money. No, they wanted to use her to find her boyfriend. They wanted her to lead them to him so they could exact their revenge. And according to prosecutors, that's exactly what they did. They used Monique to locate her boyfriend. After using her to find the boyfriend, they brought Monique to a North Minneapolis alley in that U-Haul truck. Not to release her, not to let her go with a warning, but to execute her. According to the evidence that would later be presented in court, Monique was not only kidnapped and murdered, but tortured before being executed. The level of cruelty here is almost incomprehensible. This woman had done nothing to these people. She posed no threat to them beyond her ability to identify them to authorities, and yet they subjected her to unimaginable suffering before taking her life. And then, in perhaps the most dehumanizing act of all, they dumped her body in that alley like she was garbage, like she was nothing. Like the life of a 28-year-old mother of 2 young daughters held no value whatsoever.
Monique did not have to die. I didn't have to throw her out like she was garbage either.
Wanda Williams Bow, Monique's mother, would later stand in a courtroom and speak these words with a pain so raw, so visceral, that everyone present felt the weight of it. This wasn't just a murder. This was the complete devaluation of a human being. This was treating someone's precious daughter, someone's loving mother, as if she were disposable. The discovery of Monique's body in that North Minneapolis back alley on New Year's Eve 2019 would launch an investigation that would eventually unravel this entire conspiracy. And as detectives began piecing together what happened, the sheer number of people involved in this plot became clear. This wasn't just Barry and Davis. This wasn't just Elsa Segura. This was a web of conspirators who had all played their individual roles in setting up, executing, and covering up this heinous crime. The evidence against Barry and Davis would prove overwhelming. Prosecutors presented testimony, forensic evidence, and witness statements that painted a clear picture of their involvement. Davis would later try to claim that his conviction rested on nothing more than a few fingerprints on some tape and some cell phones, but the prosecution demonstrated that the evidence against him and Barry went far beyond mere fingerprints. A Hennepin County jury would convict both defendants on multiple charges, including first-degree premeditated murder. The jury saw through the denials, they examined the evidence, and they concluded that Barry and Davis were guilty of this horrific slaying. When the sentencing hearing came, both men would maintain their innocence, even as they faced Judge Peter Cahill.
I hate you guys had to go through this, and I will always pray that the truth comes out.
Because justice wasn't served. They didn't prove that nothing to do with me with this shit.
Even had the audacity to compare himself to Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer convicted of murdering George Floyd.
And I also would just like to say sorry. Something that I thought I would never say. Yet here I sit, a condemned man sitting in the same seat as Derek Chauvin, a man who killed someone in front of the world, and I'm about to receive life without parole for a few fingerprints, and they said were mine on some tape and some cell phones.
The comparison was as offensive as it was absurd. Chauvin's crime was captured on video for the world to see. Davis and Barry's crime was a calculated, premeditated conspiracy to kidnap, torture, and murder an innocent woman. There was no equivalency here, none whatsoever. Judge Peter Cahill saw right through the denials and the false comparisons.
I do think they proved it. The jury thought they proved it. I think they did quite a good job of proving it, as a matter of fact.
Judge Cahill handed down the mandatory life sentence without the possibility of release. But he went even further. He tacked on an additional 240 months, 20 years on top of those life sentences. Those 20 years would have to be served after the life sentences. And Judge Cahill was explicit about his reasoning. In case the laws ever changed, he never wanted these 2 men ever getting out of prison. A judge so convinced of the depravity of these defendants that he structured their sentences to ensure they could never, under any circumstances, taste freedom again. It speaks to the horrific nature of what they did to Monique. But Barry and Davis weren't the only ones facing justice. Remember Elsa Segura, the probation officer who made that initial call to lure Monique to the fake house showing, she was convicted of aiding and abetting first-degree murder. At her sentencing, Wanda Williams-Bowe delivered another gut-wrenching victim impact statement.
She could have been a hero. She could have warned Monique. She could have warned her that showing was fake.
This was the crux of Segura's moral failure. She had options. She could have refused to participate in this plot. She could have warned Monique that she was walking into a trap. She could have called the police. She could have done literally anything other than become an active participant in a conspiracy that would result in a young mother being tortured and murdered. But she didn't. She made that phone call. She set up that fake showing, and Monique paid with her life. Wanda noted in her victim impact statement at Segura's sentencing that the defendant showed no emotion during her trial. Even as Monique's family relived the nightmare of losing their daughter, their sister, their mother, Segura sat stone-faced. No remorse, no accountability, no acknowledgement of the devastation her actions had caused. And perhaps the most heartbreaking moment came when Wanda shared something that Monique's oldest daughter, Legend, had recently told her.
Monique's oldest daughter, Legend, said to me a couple weeks ago, she said that she wants to die. And I said, no, baby, why would you say that? And she said, because I want to see my mommy. And she said, you can bring me flowers. And I knew she was referring to the times that we bring Monique flowers to her grave.
This is the ripple effect of murder. This is the collateral damage that extends far beyond the immediate victim. Legend and her sister didn't just lose their mother that New Year's Eve, they lost their childhood. They lost their sense of security. They lost the person who loved them most in this world.
And I'm asking you, Your Honor, to please use your power to make sure they spend the rest of their miserable, insignificant lives in prison.
Judge Cahill gave Segura a life sentence by law, just like he had given Barry and Davis, but he added something crucial. Segura deserved that life sentence not just because she participated, but because she had the power to prevent it and chose not to.
Because you could have stopped this from happening. And so it is not an injustice.
She could have been the one person who broke the chain of events that led to Monique's death. Instead, she became a crucial link in that chain. But the nightmare wasn't over for Monique's family. 3 more trials were still pending for other suspects. The accused drug dealer Lyndon Wiggins and Shantae Davis, the sister of Barry Davis and girlfriend of the other killer. Every trial meant reliving the trauma. Every court appearance meant facing the people who took Monique away. Every victim impact statement meant putting words to a grief that defies language.
This coming New Year's will mark 2 years since my daughter Monique Bowe was kidnapped and murdered.
Years of court dates, years of waiting for justice, years of seeing her daughter's killers and co-conspirators paraded through courtrooms while Monique remained in the ground. And then came a development that would shake the family's faith in the justice system even further. The Minnesota Supreme Court overturned Segura's conviction.
Family's frustration boils over in court as a woman is sentenced for the second time in the death of a Minneapolis realtor. Elsa Segura was serving a life sentence in prison without the possibility of parole, but now her prison time has been cut to 20 years.
The court ruled that prosecutors didn't have direct evidence that Segura knew Bowe would be murdered as a result of the plot and returned the case to Hennepin County for a retrial.
But the state Supreme Court overturned Segura's conviction, saying prosecutors didn't have direct evidence that Segura knew Bowe would be murdered as a result of the plot, and returned the case to Hennepin County for a retrial.
Can you imagine? After all that trauma, after that emotional victim impact statement, after that life sentence, Segura's conviction was overturned on a technicality. The family would have to go through it all again. Another trial. More testimony, more reliving the worst day of their lives. But then came a plea agreement. Segura pled guilty to kidnapping in exchange for a 20-year prison sentence. Prosecutors believed this move would prevent another appeal. The legal rationale made sense. When someone pleads guilty, appeals are very unlikely to prevail. This would be the end of Segura's case. But going from life in prison to 20 years, which with time served and good behavior meant Segura could get out in 10 years, didn't feel like justice to Monique's family.
I'm very upset, and I couldn't control myself.
I love you, Mommy.
For Monique Bao's loved ones, the frustration is hard to hide, as the woman who lured her to her death is sentenced for the second time.
The frustration boiled over in court. One of Monique's relatives had to be escorted out of the courtroom after having an emotional outburst during the proceedings. The pain was too much, the injustice too great.
She sits in there and she figure out how to get shorter time. And what we feeling, she should feel that for the rest of her life. Her family should feel it for the rest of their life.
And the family's anger was justified.
Not one time you apologize. Not once. But you can sit and you can figure out how to get your time cut short. That's not acceptable.
Monique's life can't be released back to us. We can't get her back. So why should anyone involved in such a horrific crime be eligible for any type of freedom? We don't have any freedom. Her kids don't have any freedom.
Segura never apologized, not once. Not in her first trial, not in her sentencing, not in her second sentencing after the plea deal. She never took accountability for her role in Monique's death. She never expressed remorse for orphaning 2 little girls. She never acknowledged the devastation she helped cause.
And the alleged mastermind, Lyndon Wiggins, also had his conviction overturned. More trials, more uncertainty, more trauma for a family that has already endured more than anyone should have to bear.
The only thing I wish I could have is my daughter back. And that's something I can't have. It's nothing I can get, but this is a touch of satisfaction.
I hate you guys had to go through this, and I will always pray that the truth comes out.
Because justice wasn't served. They didn't prove that nothing to do with me with this shit.
This is what justice looks like for families of murder victims. It's not closure. It's not peace. It's not healing. It's a touch of satisfaction knowing that some of the people responsible will spend their lives behind bars. But it's hollow, because Monique is still gone. Her daughters still grow up without their mother. Wanda still visits a grave instead of her daughter's home. And every New Year's Eve will forever be marked by the memory of the night pure evil came from Monique Baugh. The conspiracy to kidnap and murder Monique Baugh stands as a stark reminder of how innocent people can become victims of violence meant for someone else. How criminals with no regard for human life will use, abuse, and dispose of innocent people in pursuit of their own twisted goals. And how the justice system, despite its best efforts, can never truly make families whole after such a devastating loss. Do you think Segura could have saved Monique Baugh's life if she had pre-informed her of the setup? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Click on one of the cards on your screen to see more videos like this.